Mr. Speaker, since the beginning of Russia's unprovoked war against Ukraine, we continue to witness unspeakable acts perpetrated by Vladimir Putin's forces. Since the start of the war, Ukrainian officials estimate that over 120,000 war crimes have been committed by lawless Russian invaders. One of the most horrific acts being conducted by the Putin regime is the kidnapping of Ukrainian children to Russia and occupied territories. Since February 2022, more than 19,000 children have been forcibly deported from their homeland, possibly many, many more. Ukraine's ambassador to the United Nations has stated that Ukraine has strong grounds to believe several 100,000 Ukrainian children were forcibly, unlawfully taken. Not only have these children been kidnapped and handed over to the Russian families, but they have also been forced into pro-Russia re-education systems. They are being brainwashed, taught to hate their home country and to love their oppressors, Russia. Kidnapped Ukrainian children are being taught that Ukraine does not exist as a sovereign country and that Russia is conducting some sort of justified mission for mankind. And if they don't comply or fall in line, these children face punishment and abuse. But Russia's depravity gets even more twisted, Mr. Speaker. There are reports that kidnapped Ukrainian teenagers are being conscripted to fight in Ukraine on behalf of the Russian Federation. Ukrainian officials say Russia's efforts specifically target teenagers so that they can be turned into soldiers once they reach the age 18. Vladimir Putin and his Commissioner for Children's Rights, Maria Lvova-Belova, can claim all they want that they are saving these children, but we know their true intent: the complete eradication of Ukrainian culture and identity. Both U.S. statute and international law define genocide as acts committed with intent to destroy a people in whole or in part, including forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. I was proud to join my colleague from Pennsylvania, Representative Wild, in introducing the resolution before us today. It rightfully condemns this barbarism and calls it what it is: genocide. We were there together on the Ukrainian border. We were there and saw Ukrainian refugees and children that had suffered this kind of abuse at the hands of Vladimir Putin. Let me just say, Mr. Speaker, that during our markup, this resolution received unanimous bipartisan support from the Foreign Affairs Committee. And today, the entire House has the opportunity and the moral duty to denounce Russia's genocide against these children of Ukraine. And I want to thank my good friend, Representative Wild, for shedding light on these heartbreaking abuses and urge all of our colleagues to support this important resolution. And I reserve the balance of my time.
I introduced this resolution on behalf of my district, which counts one of the country's largest Ukrainian American communities. Together, we have advocated and organized for this moment, and I want to recognize my Ukrainian American constituents and all of the extraordinary Ukrainian American leaders whose tireless efforts led to this legislation coming to the floor of the House for a vote. I too remember the time that Representative Wagner and I and a couple of other members from the Foreign Affairs Committee stood right at the border of Ukraine on the Poland side and watched as children and mothers streamed across the border. And it was tragic and it was really hard to watch. But those were the fortunate children, as we've learned. Far too many Ukrainian children have been abducted to Russia. This vote is about sending an unequivocal message to Vladimir Putin that we stand with the Ukrainian people and that we will not stop working for justice and accountability when it comes to the atrocities that Russian forces have systemically employed in this war of aggression. We must be clear. Russian forces have engaged in an effort to destroy Ukraine's democracy, its sovereignty, its territorial integrity, and ultimately its identity itself. Their crimes against children stand out as the most heinous aspect of a much larger strategy, a relentless campaign of state violence against the most vulnerable members of Ukrainian society. As part of this effort, Russian forces have abducted and forcibly relocated thousands of Ukrainian children to Russian-occupied and affiliated areas in blatant violation of Article 2E of the Genocide Convention. The Russian objective is clear: to eradicate the young generations of Ukrainians by attempting to destroy their sense of national and cultural identity. We cannot be silent in the face of these violations of Ukrainians' most fundamental rights and dignity. I want to thank my colleagues on both sides of the aisle for working to pass this legislation unanimously through the Foreign Affairs Committee. Finally, as meaningful as this vote is to me and my constituents, I call on the leadership of this House to hold an even more consequential vote. Mr. Speaker, the people's representatives must be able to vote on the Senate's supplemental package containing critical assistance for Ukraine, as well as humanitarian assistance for the people of Ukraine, for the Palestinian people, and for so many other populations around the world who are in dire need of assistance. We must come together in support of this national and global priority. And I ask my colleagues to join me in supporting this measure, and I reserve the balance of my time. Thank you. I urge my colleagues to think about the Ukrainian Americans across this country whose relatives in Ukraine are facing a relentless campaign of aggression simply because of their unrelenting quest for a democratic Ukrainian state. We must stand with them. We must stand with the next generation of Ukrainians and ensure that they are able to continue their proud legacy. As a people, Ukrainians have endured despite extraordinary hardship experienced across generations, and today they are fighting for their future as a sovereign, independent democracy whose freedom has been hard-won and is imperiled today. Together, let us join in passing this resolution here on the floor of the House of Representatives by a resounding bipartisan margin, and let us work toward passing the assistance for the Ukrainian people that they so urgently need. I hope my colleagues will join me in supporting this resolution, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Mr. Speaker, Vladimir Putin's barbarism knows no bounds. The actions of his lawless forces against the people of Ukraine, including the forcible deportation of innocent Ukrainian children, constitutes genocide. We have the opportunity to state that truth plainly today and to stand with the grieving families of Ukraine whose children are still kidnapped inside Russia. I urge unanimous support for this resolution, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman yields. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and agree to House Resolution 149 as amended? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative.
Speaker.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Missouri seek recognition?
Speaker, on that I request the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. All those in favor of taking this vote by the yeas and nays will rise and remain standing until counted. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered.
Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is the vote on the motion of the gentlewoman from Missouri, Ms. Wagner, to suspend the rules and agree to House Resolution 149 as amended, on which the yeas and nays are ordered. The clerk will report the title.
House Resolution 149, resolution condemning the illegal abduction of children from Ukraine to the Russian Federation.
The question is, will the House suspend the rules and agree to the resolution as amended? Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote.
This is the last vote of the series here. Members are considering House Resolution 149, which condemns the illegal abduction of children from Ukraine to Russia. This was considered under a suspension of the regular rules, so it got up to 40 minutes of debate time, and it will require a 2/3 majority for passage. Later in the week, we expect the final government funding proposal to make it to the floor with a little time to spare, facing a Friday midnight deadline to avoid a partial government shutdown. It's a $1.2 trillion spending package that has not yet been considered in the Senate. Both chambers scheduled to be out for district and state work periods next week.
90, the nays are 9, 2/3 being in the affirmative. The rules are suspended. The resolution is agreed to, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Without objection, the title is amended.